Ajay Kanwal is now joining us, MD and CEO of Jana Small Finance Bank, to talk more about the budget expectations and uh, how exactly will the government balance the need of the small borrower, the small town requirements, rural side, as well as fiscal prudence. Ajay, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. If we look at, first of all, congratulations at the developments at the home front as well. You've been very busy. But we won't talk about numbers today. That today's interaction is mostly about the big picture. You've been working around the small borrower for a very long time. You have exactly the pulse of their sentiment. This time round, expectations are elevated that government will start looking towards the requirements because there have been a lot which have been hit by high inflation, etc. What are your thoughts? What specific measures can be taken for the MSME, rural tier 2, tier 3 kind of borrower or affordable housing MSME, kind of universe in order to soothe or at least kind of cushion their blow?
So, Ajay, thank you so much. My view is very simplistically we should do what is important for today, but also builds tomorrow. So, for example, in affordable housing, we have the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which the Prime Minister announced in the first few days itself. I think we should look at, the center incentivizing states to clear up all the paper for the properties, the registration, cleanliness, no stamp duty for affordable housing when they come for cleanliness. What happens is we've got a lot of property available in the affordable housing segment, but financing is difficult with the property papers aren't very clean. And this is something that exists everywhere. So something we should do a Aadhaar kind of an answer for property will be brilliant. I know it'll take some money, it'll take a bit of time, but the faster we start, it'll really help the affordable housing segment, which is very important to us. Second, I would think that if all large developers began a small subsidiary for affordable housing, it will really give the sector a big boost because we want more larger organized player in this segment. So those is my expectation because remember, every affordable housing is not just fulfilling a man's dream of owning a house, it is straight employment generation in the small borrower, whether it's a small construction, the plumber, the electrician, the roads, and so on and so forth. So I think that's my thought on affordable. I have a thought on, the cash in the system is now 35 lakh crores, yeah. And we all talk of challenges in the liquidity, etc. Somehow if we can get a reasonable chunk of this 35 lakh crore back into the banking system, it will be very nice. And one of the things that we could now experiment, I feel, is, it happens to banks. And, for example, for us, a priority sector target, if you lend in a particular district, you get more credit for it. I think similarly, we should take districts which need development. We should drop the GST and the income tax for all businesses, salaried people in that particular district who stay and work there to a very low number, say 2%, 5%. I think we should drop it to such a low number that every individual is then incentivized to bring the money to the bank. There are more and more people who want to go there, stay there, set up their business, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a person who's doing manufacturing. I do think it's time we really experimented saying, what does a low tax regime do? And so that it doesn't spoil too many things, we should do in a very controlled way. In a very similar way, the regulator asks the banks to look at priority sector lending in a few districts. So I think, to my mind, Ajay, the big help could be if that 35 lakh crore could come into the system, and any measure toward that will be brilliant. Before I let you say the next line, sorry, I must say this because that's important to the banks. We must find a way to make sure bank deposits are equated to all kinds of debt funds. I think that's very important that we kind of make sure that people understand the role bank deposits play in helping small borrowers, helping small businesses, and in many ways are forms of capital for them. So I do think that looking at bank deposits on a more sustainable long-term basis and making sure that in spite of the good returns the banks are giving, we don't lose out because of taxation policies, that would be very helpful.
All right, fair enough. Morning. I wanted to also understand your outlook in terms of what the expectations could be for additional incentives, perhaps a thrust on affordable housing. Would that too be on the wish list?
Yeah, I would think so. There will be certainly a push towards rural India for sure. So I think expecting things to help on logistics sides would work. We should expect that. On the tourism side, we should expect that. Certainly some help on the affordable housing side, whether it comes in incentives of interest, etc., may turn up. But see, again, increasing incentives on interest will certainly help. But if you really want to do a bit more dramatic change and a bit more sustainable long-term change, then I think getting the paperwork cleared, especially in the lower end, will work better. Like MSME, I read a lot about budget expectation on reduced interest rates, etc., etc. I feel the real issue in the MSME is it's not about banks lending at low rate, which is going to kickstart MSMEs in any significant upturn. I think what will help is the real issue is one when MSME lends to the other, there is a payment issue. You talk to your customers, it's always the other guy is not paid, my payment is stuck in the market, and he's all over the place. And he has orders, but he's scared to deliver because he's not sure about the credit coming back here. So I think what we should now work towards is can banks, along with SIDBI, work towards a credit guarantee program, not for banks lending to MSMEs, but MSMEs interacting with each other. We need a clearinghouse for MSME payments to each other. If you can sort that out, there will be a boom. Because what's holding back is not orders, it is just the amount of can I trust this person? I'm sitting in Bombay, the order has come from Jammu, what should I do? If we find a good answer to that, I think we'll solve it. So I do think that the budget will bring some ideas, some clarifications here. But I do hope that it does bring in something which is more longer term and just solves a basic issue. And once for all, I do think a SOP for MSMEs who are Udyam registered below a certain turnover, capping the tax rates will help a lot. It'll also help employment generation for sure. Because MSMEs are at least a small and medium enterprise, are the backbone to a large scale employment in the country.
All right. Any expectations then when it comes to life insurance as a whole? Because the view is that maybe higher taxation could be a little bit negative. What's your outlook?
I don't have a view really on life insurance, but I do think that maybe it's time to relook at short-term gains in the capital markets. I think there is room for us to, I do see a lot of regulations coming in, which kind of talk about how we make the small investor more careful. So maybe we should relook at the short-term gains in the capital markets. It'll kind of balance out many things rather than putting more restrictions.
It's nice to connect with you. I've just joined in late. You were supposed to come to Mumbai for our event. We missed you that day.
Sorry, my apologies. Sometime investor calls turn out to be for a listed company the bigger challenge than anything else.
The rural economy has come back. There is data. Two-wheeler sales. This year we are in for a good monsoon. You've done well when the rural economy was under stress and the semi-urban economy was also under stress. Now monsoons are looking good. The real estate cycle is in some kind of an uptrend, and in general there is a wealth effect which is there. When you feel happy, you spend more. When you feel confident about your income, you borrow more. What does that mean for, let's say, Jana Small Finance Bank, when in general there is growth, more disposable income, the lower end of the pyramid is making a comeback, and they have ability to service a loan?
So, Nikush, thanks. And listen, for us, it's very simplistic, right? We do MSME, we do affordable housing. We are in 180 cities. Our average ticket size serve the mass. So for us, any positive sign from monsoon is super. For us, any budget SOP, and I was talking about budget SOPs, both, you can have a SOP which says, I'm going to increase your interest cut or the interest rebate that you could get in your tax for your housing loan. I think that's going to be helpful for sure. But I do think that we should do something more sustainable, which really brings affordable housing into front and center for all lenders and all developers. And I think one of the fastest we can do is, maybe, give a special sub for all large developers for affordable housing projects, clear up all the paperwork in every state on the ownership of the home. I mean, once you do something which is more widespread and large scale, I think you will see a big lift. And I think my bias is like, we can tinker around with tax rates, but I think those will get sorted out. I do think we need to make some more structural changes. Similarly, in MSME, I felt the biggest structural change is MSME lending, giving goods and money to each other. That's a bigger problem. It is less about interest rates on banks. Because even if I give him a low rate, he won't supply because he's not sure his money will come back. So irrelevant whether how much money I give him, he just won't sell. So I think giving him a guarantee to the other, when he supplies to the other guy, becomes more important than the bank loan being guaranteed, I feel.
Okay. So if I have to, let's say, take a view on perhaps I'm not looking at the classification in terms of geography, rural, urban or semi-urban, but if I take a view perhaps based on the growth for the low ticket loan, now whether it is car loan, whether it is home loan, whether it's a personal loan, do you think next 12 to 24 months, both in terms of historical averages, will they be better or will they be lower?
For no other reason, everything seems to be lined up very well. See, Nikunj, the reality is, every year when we do good work, the next year, the good work gets added for the last few years of work, which is why I feel that, and it's in line with what you said earlier, the monsoon was one big question mark. I think that's going away. Then last year's good work should pay some dividend this year. This year's work will pay dividend next year. We are on that, step-by-step growth. So yes, I think it will be fair to say that the economy will do better sustainably in the middle to bottom end of India.
Ajay, nice to have you on ET Now. Next time, hopefully in our studio.
Thank you, Nikunj. Thanks, Ajay. Bye-bye.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.